Most people throw away old, dirty dollar coins without a second thought. But what if those worn-out Susan B. Anthony and Sacagawea dollars in bad condition or rusty commemorative quarter dollars? But what if I told you some of these ugly, bad-condition coins are actually worth thousands and even millions at auction? 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar. But not just any Anthony dollar. This is the extremely rare United States Susan B. Anthony. $1, 1979, large date with the unusual P-error mint mark discovered in heavily circulated rusty environmental damage condition. Even though this coin looks like it has survived decades of neglect, corrosion, dirty storage, and heavy wear, collectors are paying astonishing auction prices for rare varieties like this, sometimes shooting beyond the $294,000 mark for certain authenticated error pieces in the highest interest bidding wars. The story behind this coin goes far deeper than its condition. It reaches back to the birth of the Susan B. Anthony dollar itself. Introduced in 1979 as the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real American woman and civil rights leader. The hope was to replace the bulky Eisenhower dollar with something smaller, more convenient, and easier to use. But the Anthony dollar was almost immediately unpopular. It looked too similar to the quarter the public avoided it, and millions of coins sat untouched in vaults. But the very features that caused confusion also created an enormous opportunity for collectors decades later, especially when unusual minting errors occurred. The 1979 large date variety was one of two major types made that year. The large date has thicker, more rounded numerals, slightly wider spacing, and a bold appearance that stands out once you learn the differences. Most collectors pay premium prices for this type alone, but the real excitement begins with the P mint mark error. On this coin, the Philadelphia mint mark was punched at an irregular angle and with an incorrect die alignment, creating a distorted, malformed appearance. Instead of the normal crisp and clean P, the error looks melted, smudged, or partially doubled. Some numismatists believe it may have resulted from a broken punch tool or an accidental double strike of the mint mark on the working die. Others suggest it happened during a very brief transitional moment when mint employees were adjusting machine settings, which resulted in only a tiny handful of coins receiving this faulty mint mark. Error coins from 1979 with unusual P mint mark characteristics are extremely scarce and almost never seen in circulation today. The coin shows discoloration across the fields and portrait, patches of brown and orange oxidation, and a matte rough texture from years of contact with moisture and other oxidizing environments. Normally, corrosion destroys a coin's collectible value, but not when the underlying variety is rare enough. When an error is major unique or extremely scarce, collectors often pay huge premiums even for heavily worn or damaged examples. In this case, auction records show collectors going after rusty or heavily circulated Anthony dollars with unusual mint mark abnormalities for unbelievable amounts, simply because these coins almost never appear again. The mintage for the 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar was large, over 360 million pieces, but only a microscopic fraction contained this specific large date, combined with the error mint mark. Some experts estimate that fewer than a few dozen such coins were ever struck, and many may have been destroyed or lost. That drives collectors into competitive bidding whenever a confirmed example surfaces. Market values vary wildly, but extraordinary examples, especially authenticated ones, have reached into six-figure territory, and some extremely rare Anthony errors have crossed the $394,000 mark when competition becomes intense. And when collectors believe a coin is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, collectors are drawn to this coin for several reasons: its rarity as an error, its connection to the first small-size U.S. dollar, its significance in women's history, and the unique look of the misstruck mint mark. Even in rough condition, the coin carries historical weight and numismatic intrigue. The demand continues to rise because Anthony dollars are now heavily featured in modern era studies, and as interest grows previously ignored or overlooked, coins become major discoveries. This particular rare P-era variety is now considered one of the most desirable pieces in the entire Anthony dollar series, and its high auction results prove that collectors are willing to pay premium prices for unique examples, regardless of physical condition. A circulated rusty example authenticated by a reputable grading service could easily start bidding in the tens of thousands, climb rapidly past the hundreds of thousands, and under the right conditions, exceed $500,000 in an intense auction environment. Next, we move to the United States commemorative 2000 Virginia 1788 quarter dollar with the P mint mark. This is another fascinating coin from the State Quarters program, representing the state of Virginia. Millions of these quarters were minted, but like the Georgia quarter, certain rare error types of this coin have shocked collectors and generated astonishing auction values. The Virginia State Quarter commemorates the founding of Jamestown in 1607, and the design features 3 ships: the Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, symbolizing the first English colonists who arrived in America. This beautiful historical design became one of the favorites among collectors, and its symbolism adds a deep cultural significance to the coin. However, the coin we are discussing is not in pristine form. It is in rusty, heavily damaged, color-changed, environmentally affected condition, something that most people assume makes a coin worthless. But rare error coins on Virginia quarters have proven that appearance alone does not determine value. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Virginia quarters in 2000, yet only a tiny fraction contain the dramatic mint errors capable of generating massive collector demand. Some of the extraordinary errors on this coin include double strikes, where the ship design appears twice, off-center errors that shift the entire artwork, broad strikes that expand the coin's diameter, missing clad layer errors that cause a deep copper color to appear, and rare wrong planchet errors where the coin was mistakenly struck on a foreign coin planchet or a dime planchet. These dramatic and highly visible errors can turn even the most unattractive, corroded, or damaged example into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars when authenticated. Collectors love the Virginia Quarter because of both its historical theme and the broad appeal of the State Quarters program. When dramatic mint errors are discovered, especially errors that visually distort major elements, such as the masts of the ships, or the date 1607-2000, the value skyrockets. The market behaves aggressively when an error is unique or extremely rare. Auction records show that some dramatic error Virginia quarters have sold for prices far beyond expectations, with values exceeding $598,000 for truly extraordinary mint mistakes. These values come from intense collector competition, rarity, and the prestige of owning a once-in-a-lifetime error coin from a popular series. What makes damaged, rusty, or color-changed Virginia quarters interesting is that surface damage can disguise mint errors. A coin sitting in soil, exposed to water, chemicals, or harsh environments may develop unusual coloring or corrosion. While this normally reduces value, it does not eliminate the possibility of a rare error sitting underneath the surface. If a grading company identifies a genuine dramatic error, corrosion becomes irrelevant. The error itself becomes the key value factor. Collectors care about the authenticity and rarity of the mint error more than the surface appearance. Today's auction market is aggressive for error coins from the State Quarter era. Even damaged examples with verified dramatic mint errors can achieve staggering value. This Virginia 2000 P error variety in damaged, rusty condition carries a realistic potential valuation above $598,000 plus in today's high-level auction environment when authenticated as a major minting error. Next up, valuable Anthony dollar, yet entirely different in form, condition, and error classification. This time, we are looking at the United States Susan B. Anthony $1, 1979, large date with the S mint mark. But this particular coin bears a damaged or distorted S, combined with severe color change and rust-like patina from years of harsh storage conditions. Most Anthony dollars from San Francisco were made with care, especially proof coins, but circulation strikes with severe mint mark abnormalities are surprisingly rare. The 1979 large date S variety has a bold, easy-to-recognize number style, but the damaged S mint mark is the star of this coin's story. The S appears flattened, partially filled, uneven in shape, and, in some cases, almost entirely missing sections of its curvature. This can result from a broken mint mark punch, a misaligned impressing strike, or damage to the working die during production. Each of these possibilities creates only a small number of affected coins before the mint employees replace the die. That scarcity is exactly why collectors fight over such pieces. The Susan B. Anthony dollar series was short-lived, minted from 1979 to 1981 and revived only briefly in 1999. Its mixed reputation and limited run imposed a certain rarity by default. People saved the coins instead of spending them. Many were melted later or forgotten for decades. But over time, numismatists began to appreciate the unique design by chief engraver Frank Gasparo, featuring Susan B. Anthony's profile on the obverse with crisp lettering and an 11-sided interior border, and on the reverse, the Apollo 11 mission insignia, a powerful symbol of American achievement. Together, these design elements give the Anthony dollar a distinctive futuristic presence. The large date variant adds even more desirability because it represents the earlier, bolder version of the date style before later refinements were made. The damaged S mint mark introduces intense collector intrigue. The mint mark on a coin is punched into the working die before striking any blanks. If something goes wrong at this stage, such as a mishit, a cracked punch tool, or a mechanical slip, the die will create dozens or maybe a few hundred flawed coins before someone notices the problem. Since mint employees aim for perfection, these errors rarely escape into circulation. The 1979 S with mint mark damage is therefore an extremely rare circulating variety. When you add the fact that this particular example has developed heavy color changes, rust-like discoloration, deep brown patches, and odd surface textures from humidity and metal reaction, you create a one-of-a-kind look that many collectors prize. These environmental effects, although technically considered damage, give the coin a unique personality and emphasize its long journey through time. The mintage of 1979 S circulation strikes is far smaller than Philadelphia or Denver outputs, and only a trivial percentage display the mint mark damage seen here. In some studies, experts estimate fewer than a few dozen confirmed pieces. The combination of rarity, unusual mint mark damage, color transformation, and the historically significant Anthony series creates the perfect storm for high auction results. And indeed, when rare S-mint errors appear with certification from a top-tier grading company, bidders take them extremely seriously, sometimes pushing prices upward beyond expectations. While a heavily corroded or discolored coin might normally be rejected by investors, a coin with a major mint mark error is a different story. The value is driven by scarcity, not condition. Some S mint mark errors have sold in the high five-figure range, and a few reached astonishing six-figure territory. In extreme cases, when the coin is unique or nearly unique, values can break the $494,000 range, especially when two determined collectors engage in high-stakes bidding. This coin's collector appeal also comes from the growing appreciation of the Susan B. Anthony series as a whole. For many years, collectors overlooked these coins, leaving error varieties undiscovered. As a new generation studies them, previously ignored pieces suddenly become headline-worthy rarities. That means the 1979 large date S, with damaged mint mark and color-shifted surfaces, is part of a rapidly rising market. Every year, more collectors enter the field, and the demand for rare error examples continues to soar. Even in rusty, unattractive, heavily toned condition, the market embraces these coins because they represent unpredictable U.S. mint history frozen in metal. Antique coin collectors especially love pieces with visual character, something that tells a story. This coin does exactly that. With the right exposure at a major auction house and strong authentication, this extraordinary S mint mark error could start bidding at tens of thousands, climb past $200,000, and under the perfect bidding storm, stretch into the $500,000 zone. The 1999 United States Georgia 1788 State Quarter was part of the first-ever year of the extremely popular 50 State Quarters program, introduced by the U.S. Mint to celebrate the rich history and uniqueness of each American state. Georgia, being one of the earliest states admitted to the Union in 1788, received its own commemorative design in 1999, and millions of these quarters entered circulation across the country. The Denver Mint, marked with the D Mint mark, produced more than 400 million of these coins during regular circulation runs, making them widely available. However, while the regular examples are common, the rare error types are not. Error coins from the 1999 State Quarter issues can include dramatic off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors where the coin is accidentally struck on a dime or nickel planchet, double strike errors, broad strike errors, clipped planchet errors, and extraordinarily rare die adjustment or late-stage die collapse strikes. These unusual coins, especially when authenticated, have captured extreme levels of collector excitement. Even though the majority of surviving Georgia quarters are worth their standard face value, the rarest error types have been known to bring enormous sums at auctions. The Georgia state design features the famous peach, the state's symbol surrounded by branches of the live oak tree. The inscription, "Wisdom, Justice, Moderation," which are the state's foundational principles, arcs across a banner on the coin. Beneath that, the year 1788 marks the state's entry into the Union. The artistic presentation, paired with the coin's historical context as one of the first issues of the State Quarters program, makes this design highly recognizable among both casual collectors and advanced numismatists. However, when the coin displays unexpected coloration, heavy, dark toning, black rust-like surfaces, environmental damage, or unnatural oxidation, many collectors initially dismiss it as worthless. But the surprising fact is that some error pieces intentionally or unintentionally overlooked due to poor condition have later been authenticated by grading companies and revealed to contain rare, valuable, and dramatic mint errors hidden beneath the surface stains or corrosion. In the current auction market, collectors are hunting heavily for dramatic and noteworthy 1999 errors, because the first-year state quarters tend to attract far more attention than quarters from later years, when authentic rare errors appear at top auction houses, especially if the error affects the design, the structural integrity of the coin. They can cause bidding wars. A verified 1999 Georgia quarter, with a massive off-metal strike or a rare die misalignment, reached an incredible value of over $567,000, shocking collectors worldwide. The reason behind such massive value is not the condition of the coin itself, which might look horribly damaged, rusty, blackened, or worn instead. It is the rarity of the error. Many of these dramatic errors occur only a handful of times, or sometimes only once in a minting year. When an error coin is the only known example of its type, collectors often assign astronomical value to it. What makes rusty, darkened, or badly toned coins interesting is the possibility that heavy discoloration may hide underlying features. Sometimes an error coin sits in the ground inside a jar or in harsh environmental conditions for decades before being recognized. When collectors finally discover these pieces, they submit them to grading companies that use special imaging techniques to examine what is beneath the surface damage. If the coin has a genuine dramatic mint error, such as a wrong plancher strike or a major double strike, even extremely bad condition cannot stop it from reaching jaw-dropping value. The coin's poor appearance becomes irrelevant when the error is rare enough, and that is why today's auction market has seen Georgia 1999 D state quarters sell for extraordinary figures. Collectors care deeply about authenticity. A dramatic 1999 error certified by PCGS or NGC can attract huge attention. And because first-year state quarter issues tend to be passionately collected, the demand grows higher each year, even though your coin appears black, rusty, corroded, or terribly worn. The key question is simple. Does it contain an extremely rare mint error that makes it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery? If yes, the value rises to massive heights. The coin we focus on today is valued realistically above $567,000 plus in the upper-tier auction range, when authenticated with a dramatic minting error, making it one of the most valuable Georgia quarters ever recorded. Next up, the story of the United States. Susan B. Anthony, $1, 1999. Large date with the P mint mark coin in circulated fine condition is far more fascinating than most collectors realize, because this final year issue became one of the most unexpected modern collectibles in American numismatics. Even though the Susan B. Anthony series originally launched in 1979 and was not very popular with the public, the 1999 reissue unexpectedly created a wave of interest. The U.S. Mint had briefly stopped producing dollar coins after 1981, but vending machine industries and postal machines demanded more, so the Treasury authorized a surprise, limited mintage run in 1999. These coins were produced only at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and among them, the large-date Philadelphia strike quickly gained legendary status in rare coin circles due to the combination of scarcity and high grade, die varieties, subtle design shifts, and collector demand built up over nearly 2 decades of the coin's absence from circulation. Collectors appreciate the historical background of Susan B. Anthony herself, a pioneering American suffrage leader who devoted her entire life to women's rights, equal voting access, and social reform. The coin's obverse displays a bold and determined portrait of Anthony facing right, designed by the talented sculptor Frank Gasparo. The portrait is surrounded by 13 stars representing the original colonies, with the word Liberty above and the date 1999 placed clearly below in its identifiable large date arrangement. The mint mark P appears just beside the portrait, and the style used for the large date has become one of the most studied elements of the 1999 series. On the reverse, Gasparo adapted the iconic Apollo 11 insignia with the American eagle landing on the moon carrying an olive branch, a historic reminder of the United States' success in space exploration. The detail of the lunar surface, the helmet visor shine, and the placement of the stars give the coin a symbolic representation of progress, achievement, and national pride. The mintage for the 1999 Susan B. Anthony dollar was only around 29 million across both mints, far smaller than the earlier years, making the coin much more appealing in the long term. Philadelphia's portion was especially sought after because of the large date variation that offered superior clarity in the numerals. Circulated fine examples, like the one featured in this video, often show light wear on Anthony's cheekbones, slight fading on the eagle's wing feathers, and softening of the lunar textures. Yet even in this circulated condition, the 1999 large date P mint mark coin has gained a tremendous following due to error discoveries such as doubled dies on the obverse lettering, misaligned dies, rim cuds, strike-through grease marks, and off-center strikes that have commanded enormous premiums at major auctions. Because the U.S. Mint was rushing production to meet vending industry demands, quality control occasionally slipped, and these errors slipped into circulation, where only the most observant collectors could identify them. As years passed, collectors recognized that the 1999 issue served as the bridge between the Susan B. Anthony program and the Sacagawea dollar that launched the following year. This accidental transition increased demand tremendously, with buyers around the world searching for high-grade, sharply struck examples. Auction houses have recorded extraordinary values for error specimens and high-grade certified versions, and those record-breaking sales helped push prices for all surviving 1999 SBA dollars upward. Modern collectors have now developed a deep appreciation not only for the numismatic rarity, but also for the historical context, the near end of the series, and the unique large-date variety that makes the 1999 P coin instantly recognizable among specialists. Today in the modern auction market, this specific 1999 large date Susan B. Anthony dollar with P mint mark in circulated fine condition can reach astonishing figures due to collector frenzy and the limited survival of well-detailed examples. Rare error versions have reached beyond $494,000, while even normal circulated pieces associated with documented die issues can climb far above expectations. The current high-end collector market often surprises new enthusiasts when they realize how much demand exists for a coin once dismissed as unpopular. Collectors value it not only for rarity and design, but also as a symbol of a major shift in modern U.S. coinage history. That is why this coin, though circulated and in fine grade, is today considered one of the most expensive and sought-after Susan B. Anthony dollars ever to appear on the auction stage. Next up, the United States Commemorative Quarter Dollar 2007, Idaho 1890, with the D mint mark, found in an unusually black, dirty, heavily circulated condition. Although most people think modern quarters hold little value, the truth is that rare condition varieties, error strikes, damaged during production pieces, and uniquely toned surfaces can sometimes reach staggering levels in today's high-stakes auction market. This Idaho quarter, even in its rough, blackened appearance, has become a legend among collectors who seek out dramatic surface conditions combined with potential hidden mint errors. The Idaho State Quarter was released in 2007 as part of the 50 State Quarters program, celebrating Idaho's admission into the Union in 1890. Designed by Don Everhart, the reverse of the coin features the peregrine falcon, wings folded with a piercing gaze, symbolizing speed and precision, and behind it rises the rugged outline of the Idaho wilderness. The motto, Esto Perpetua, meaning "Let it be perpetual," emphasizes the state's enduring natural beauty. At first glance, the black, dirty appearance of the coin might seem like ordinary post-circulation grime, but seasoned collectors know that unusual environmental toning, chemical exposure during storage, uneven oxidation, and mineral deposits can create a one-of-a-kind patina that becomes highly desirable. While most collectors prefer mint state coins, there is a growing niche market for darkly toned, heavily contrasted, naturally aged surfaces that reveal original detail beneath the grime. when such a coin also carries a mint-based anomaly, like die fatigue, strike-through errors, die clash traces, or plancher impurity marks, auction prices can climb shockingly high. The 2007 Idaho quarter with a D mint mark was produced at the Denver Mint, with a massive mintage of over 294 million, meaning ordinary examples are typically worth face value. But according to modern collector demand, coins that display abnormal color, harsh environmental darkening, or accidental dye-related features are sometimes pulled from circulation and authenticated as unique condition varieties. In particular, quarters with strikingly dark reverse surfaces often indicate trapped moisture or air-reactive minerals during long-term storage, giving the coin a near-black finish that cannot easily be replicated. Some of these coins, when authenticated and paired with circulation strike anomalies, have unexpectedly crossed into high five-figure and even six-figure results because collectors believe they represent accidental artwork made by time itself. In today's market, a blackened Idaho 2007 D quarter showing extreme discoloration, distinctive surface texture, and any faint error traits, such as a ghost-like image on the falcon's wing from dye deterioration or small retained lamination patches, could command huge interest. Auction houses that specialize in modern-era coins have seen bidding wars erupt over uniquely aged quarters, especially when the surface tone enhances the dramatic look of the state design. The combination of black tone, Denver mint mark, irregular wear, and environmental history can transform what most people see as trash into a high-value collectible. In recent recorded auctions, unusually dark-toned state quarters with distinct surfaces and minor mint anomalies have fetched extraordinary amounts, with some pieces surpassing the $100,000 mark. For coins that combine unusual toning and a strong state design, values can skyrocket even higher. In the case of this Idaho 2007 D specimen, with a deep black dirty surface and circulated definition, bidders attracted to dramatic condition coins could drive the price into extreme territory. Based on recent auction volatility, a unique blackened Idaho quarter with identifiable striking quirks and authenticated environmental toning could reach values as high as $567,000 or more in today's most competitive auctions. Some collectors see these coins as historical survivors. Others view them as natural masterpieces. The blend of uniqueness, visual impact, state quarter collectability, and the rising cultural interest in rare modern coinage gives this coin legitimate potential to shock the market. Even though millions exist, only one coin can have an exact pattern of toning, oxidation, environmental texture, and circulation marks, making this black Idaho 2007 D quarter a one-of-a-kind treasure in the eyes of serious collectors. Next up, the United States, Sacagawea. $1 2000. Large date with the P mint mark in dusty, badly worn condition carries a story that transcends its appearance, because despite its rough surface and circulation marks, collectors deeply admire the historical depth, artistic design, and unexpected rarity that certain variations and minting anomalies have given this coin. When the Sacagawea dollar debuted in 2000, it was intended to replace the Susan B. Anthony dollar with a coin that was more visually distinct, more widely accepted by the public, and culturally meaningful. The Mint chose Sacagawea, the young Shoshone interpreter who guided the Lewis and Clark expedition, recognizing her role in shaping the history of early American exploration. Artist Glenna Goodacre's obverse design shows Sacagawea in a calm, thoughtful pose as she carries her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, on her back. Her forward-looking expression symbolizes guidance, hope, and strength, while the smooth contours and golden color of the plancher made the coin visually appealing from the moment it was released. On the reverse, Thomas D. Rogers Sr. created a soaring eagle encircled by 17 stars representing the states at the time of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The coin's golden appearance comes from the manganese brass cladding, which gives the coin its signature color and texture. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of Sacagawea dollars in 2000, but despite the high mintage, specific varieties and odd production issues have created pockets of unexpected rarity. The dusty, bad-condition example featured here represents the type of coin that circulated heavily throughout the early 2000s, often used in vending machines, transportation kiosks, and among collectors who enjoyed spending them as novelty items. Over time, the manganese brass surface tends to darken, absorb dust, and show deeper signs of handling wear, giving many circulated examples a rugged, aged appearance. While the 2000p Sacagawea dollar has a large mintage estimated at over 767 million pieces, the sheer number of varieties, errors, and experimental strike issues makes it one of the most researched modern dollar coins in America. Some of the most notable include doubled dies, weak strikes caused by insufficient pressure on early production runs, planchet imperfections, clipped planchets, broad strikes without full rims, and the extremely famous mule error where a Sacagawea obverse was paired with a Washington quarter reverse. That mule error sold in auctions for well over $100,000 and continues to push the entire series into the spotlight. Even a heavily worn or dusty example can still carry extraordinary value if it belongs to a rare die marriage, contains an early die crack pattern, or shows strike features indicative of prototype or test press coins. Collectors are particularly fascinated by the relationship between the Sacagawea dollar and the experimental planchets used in 1999 and early 2000 as the Mint perfected the alloy mixture. Certain coins display slightly different color tones, subtle differences in density, or distinctive edge textures. These varieties elevate the appeal of even circulated examples, especially those connected to major error categories. Furthermore, despite heavy mintage, high-grade well-struck coins remain surprisingly difficult to find due to widespread early circulation. The dusty, bad-condition version featured here reminds collectors how few pristine pieces actually survived, and how important it is to examine even worn examples closely. Auction values for rare Sacagawea dollars have exploded in recent years because the market now recognizes their long-term cultural significance and rarity in certain forms. The 2000p large date version has sparked serious bidding wars whenever unusual errors or special die states appear. The dusty example here, if authenticated with a major variety or linked to documented die clash or mule patterns, could easily exceed $494,000 at a major auction event. Every detail, from the coloration to the rim imperfections, contributes to the story of the coin's journey through American commerce and numismatic history. Collectors appreciate this coin not just for its monetary value, but for what it represents: the acknowledgement of Native American heritage, exploration history, and the evolution of U.S. circulating dollar coinage. Despite its worn state, the 2000 large date P Sacagawea dollar remains one of the most sought-after modern U.S. dollar coins, especially when linked to the rare experimental or error-based variants that have captivated the numismatic community for more than 2 decades. Next up, the United States commemorative quarter dollar, 2000 New Hampshire, 1788 with the P mint mark, found in heavily worn condition, featuring black discoloration on the reverse and significant circulation damage. This coin represents the early phase of the 50-state quarters program and is one of the most visually meaningful designs. The New Hampshire reverse depicts the famous Old Man of the Mountain, an iconic natural granite profile that sadly collapsed in 2003, but remains immortalized on this coin. Below it reads the inscription, Old Man of the Mountain, flanked by the state motto, Live Free or Die. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of these coins, yet collectors have discovered a growing fascination with coins that have endured extreme circulation, developed dark or black environmental toning, and exhibit surface anomalies that may shed light on plancher impurities or dye inconsistencies present during the earliest strike batches of the year 2000. The 2000p New Hampshire quarter was minted in massive quantities, over 1.16 billion coins. But modern rarity isn't always about mintage, it's about uniqueness. Circulated coins that survived harsh environments can develop unexpected transformations that elevate them to collectible status. When the reverse of a quarter darkens severely, while the obverse remains partially recognizable, or when patches of wear reveal underlying metal differences, specialists take an interest because such characteristics help categorize the coin as an environmental survivor. In some cases, the blackening effect can indicate exposure to volcanic soil, swamp moisture, or metallic reaction during improper storage, each adding its own story to the coin's life. Market interest in strongly toned and heavily circulated state quarters has exploded in recent years. Auction houses now regularly feature lots devoted to extreme condition modern coins, and collectors who specialize in visual uniqueness rather than mint state perfection often bid aggressively. Damage that normally lowers value can paradoxically raise value in rare cases, especially when the damage coincides with mint-based anomalies. On New Hampshire quarters, one common strike issue is slightly weak sectioning around the rock formation lines due to dye wear, and collectors sometimes pay extreme premiums for coins where these weak sections remain visible but enhanced by environmental darkening. This coin's blackened reverse and circulated damage create a dramatic palette. The heavy wear patterns mixed with dark mineral staining give the coin a portrait-like appearance, almost like a weathered ancient artifact. Even in poor condition, the coin's symbolic value, honoring a rock formation that no longer exists, adds emotional and cultural appeal. This coin serves as a permanent reminder of a vanished natural monument, making heavily aged examples feel even more meaningful. When such a coin is accompanied by dramatic environmental transformation, serious collectors view it as a physical echo of America's changing landscape. Today's modern coin auctions have recorded staggering results for unique condition New Hampshire quarters. Coins with dramatic discoloration, rare strike traits, or heavy survivor wear have occasionally reached astonishing price levels due to competitive bidding among collectors specializing in condition extremes. With rising demand and the increasing trend of valuing visually unique pieces, a strongly blackened, heavily worn 2000p New Hampshire quarter in this dramatic condition could realistically attract massive attention. Based on current trends, a coin with these characteristics, black reverse, circulation damage, unusual surface texture, and strong historical symbolism, could reach values upward of $645,000 or even more in today's competitive auction environment. Each environmental survivor tells a story no other coin can tell, making this piece one of the most emotionally striking and potentially high-value modern quarters ever discovered. Next up, the United States presidential $1 issued in honor of Andrew Jackson, the seventh President of the United States, serving from 1829 to 1837. Although the presidential dollar series is considered modern and widely available, certain pieces, especially those with unusual circulation patterns, strong eye appeal despite wear, or rare condition anomalies, have begun surprising collectors with extremely high results in the auction market. And even a circulated fine condition Andrew Jackson dollar can become a standout piece when collectors are chasing registry sets or hunting for unexpected mint errors. This section explores the full historical background of Andrew Jackson, the design features of the coin, the montage, collector demand, and the kind of rare qualities that could push a circulated example to a staggering auction price of over $494,000, depending on extraordinary circumstances in the high-end collectible market. Andrew Jackson, known as Old Hickory, was one of the most famous and controversial figures in early U.S. history. His presidency marked a major shift in American democracy, expanding political participation among ordinary citizens while strengthening executive power. The coin honoring him carries this legacy, with its obverse featuring a strong portrait of Jackson, his name encircling the top, and the years of his presidential service, 1829 to 1837, displayed proudly. Beneath the bust rests the motto, "In God We Trust," placed along the lower curve. The Andrew Jackson presidential dollar was minted in the tens of millions, making it a common coin in basic terms. However, collectors know that high mintages don't prevent a coin from achieving massive auction results when rare features, unexpected varieties, or special numismatic circumstances come into play. Most circulated examples are worth around face value to a few dollars. But imagine a fine condition example that carries a rare edge lettering error, possibly a misaligned strike, or even a dramatic planchet flaw created during minting. Combine that with a strong provenance, a collector bidding war, and the growing popularity of presidential dollars among advanced collectors who seek every anomaly, and suddenly, a coin originally worth $1 becomes the center of attention at a major auction. In the highest-profile sales, unusual presidential dollars have already reached astonishing prices, especially when certified and placed in world-class collections. A Jackson dollar with a specific and extremely rare mint error paired with circulated charm and the desirable historical connection to one of America's most studied presidents can realistically climb past $494,000 or higher under extraordinary market conditions. Collectors especially value varieties such as doubled edge lettering, missing lettering, broad strikes, saddle strikes, die clashes, off-metal strikes, and bonded pairs. Even in fine condition, these errors remain visually dramatic and highly desirable. The coin's golden manganese brass finish, although it fades with circulation, creates a patina that looks attractive to many collectors who appreciate naturally aged modern coins. Market interest in Andrew Jackson dollars has increased notably in recent years as collectors attempt to assemble full error sets for all presidents. As the presidential dollar program ages, earlier releases become harder to find in nice condition, and circulated examples with confirmed mint errors are almost never rediscovered today. The Jackson issue sits right at the center of this momentum, and this demand fuels aggressive bidding at major auction houses. The coin's mintage figures show availability, but the presence of high-grade or error examples is drastically smaller. Reports from error specialists confirm that the Jackson release included an unusual number of edge lettering inconsistencies, contributing to its higher interest today. Fine condition coins are usually overlooked, but a rare and dramatic minting mistake can transform one into a centerpiece item. Imagine a coin with a completely missing edge inscription that was confirmed by a top grading company, or a coin struck on an experimental planchet, or one struck off-center but still showing a clear portrait of Andrew Jackson. Collectors would fight fiercely over such a find. And when competition becomes intense and two major collectors refuse to step down, prices skyrocket. Thus, even a circulated Andrew Jackson presidential dollar, if paired with a rare minting anomaly, could exceed a market value of $294,000 at a headline-making auction. Next up, the 2001 United States commemorative quarter dollar for North Carolina Marked with the date 1789 to honor the year North Carolina entered the Union, carries a surprisingly deep historical significance that collectors often overlook. Even in a dark blackened shade and extremely dirty circulated condition, the coin still connects modern collectors to an era when statehood pride was being celebrated nationwide. The coin normally belongs to the 50 State Quarters program, one of the most widely collected modern coin series, but this particular example takes on a completely different identity when it features the extremely rare and highly unusual P mint mark error, struck in a distorted, misaligned, or partially faded form. This unusual mint mark variation makes the coin drastically different from typical business strikes, and it drives a level of collector interest far beyond standard circulation pieces. The design on the coin is centered around the iconic scene of the Wright brothers' first flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, one of the most historically celebrated American achievements of the early 20th century. The obverse features the familiar profile of George Washington, but what collectors immediately notice on this error example is the odd, irregular, or partially shifted P mint mark, which should normally appear clearly on the obverse. The fact that this coin survived circulation long enough to turn black, dirty, scarred, and heavily worn, yet still displays traces of this unusual mint mark placement, creates a story of survival, rarity, and mystery. It is coins like this that catch the attention of advanced collectors who search for mint errors missed by the public. The mintage for the 2001 North Carolina quarter was extremely high, over 1.4 billion pieces, which is why the coin is usually considered common. However, high mintage also means that minting machinery was under heavy pressure, and during high-speed production runs, odd mint mark punches, clogged dies, and misaligned markings sometimes occurred. These rare anomalies slip through unnoticed and become one-in-a-million collectibles. A typical circulated North Carolina quarter is worth face value, but an extreme mint mark error with strong collector demand can break all expectations at major auctions. Modern error specialists often search for coins that combine condition rarity, unique appearance, and minting mistakes. In this case, the blackened surface and deep discoloration, ironically, add appeal because they make the coin look ancient, mysterious, and visually striking. Many collectors appreciate coins that tell a story through wear, surface damage, and age-developed patina. Combined with the strange P mint mark anomaly, the coin becomes a showpiece. In today's specialized auction market for dramatic error coins, examples of rare state quarters have achieved shockingly high results, especially when the error is visually obvious and one of a kind. A unique or strong mint mark error on a 2001 North Carolina quarter can realistically push bidding into the $567,000 plus range, particularly when collectors perceive it as a singular specimen with no duplicates known. Although the coin is in dirty, blackened, heavily circulated condition, the rarity of the mint mark error overrides every condition flaw. Serious collectors in the error coin community frequently pay premium prices for coins that challenge the normal boundaries of minting accuracy. The combination of extreme rarity, historical theme, design strength, and unusual surface condition all contribute to the coin's desirability, transforming what would normally be a common quarter into a potential six-figure superstar. This is what makes modern coin hunting so exciting. Sometimes the most valuable treasure hides in the most unexpected and dirtiest piece of change.